Okay, so Colin Saunders.
Right.
Welcome. You're going to tell us about the sighting and a bit more about the incident.
Right. My name's Colin Saunders, and like I say, a couple of you know me from the last time I was here. Briefly, I've spent a lot of time in the aircraft industry, working for Saab in Sweden and for Messerschmitt in Germany. I've also spent a bit of time working for Chevron in the North Sea, so flown on quite a few helicopters, so quite a lot of aviation experience, if you like. Now, 6 months ago, we had an experience. We'd never had one before, and there was 4 members of the family that it happened to. Victoria was with me tonight, her mother and her grandmother. We'd been out for a family meal to a little village called Paleton. We were coming back along the fosse. We just turned onto the fosse from a country road, and at this point, we started to see some flashing lights down in front of us. And they were the most amazing lights we'd ever seen. They were really brilliant red lights, and there was some white mixed in with it. And we all started talking about these lights, how low they were and how bright. And we drove towards them. And it seemed only a few seconds, but I've been back and measured the distance. It's actually half a mile, so it must have taken the best part of 50 or 60 seconds to drive to the lights. At this point, we'd be 100 feet, not a great deal more, beneath the flashing lights, which were just adjacent to the side of the road. And at this point is when the object materialised. I've got a few handouts here for a start, just to show you the location. If you'd like to share these between you. These all go in a sequence, so basically if we start with the first picture. This is the actual fosse, the old fosse way. Just at the top here we've got the A5, the junction with the High Cross. We were actually travelling along this road coming back from Paleton from a family meal. We turned onto the fosse at this point, and it was around just as we turned onto the fosse, we'd seen the lights, which were just down here at Foxton's corner. And we'd seen the lights for the whole of this distance. During the whole of the experience, there was no other traffic around, which was most unusual. There was people who were following us actually, but they didn't catch us up until the actual incident had finished. As we turned onto the fosse, if we turn over, this is the sort of sight that we was greeted with, these most brilliant pulsating red lights. Now this is all that we could see really from the car was the red lights. At this point we couldn't see any particular craft. It was only when we came underneath the lights that the first sort of object came into view. Here we have like a diamond shape, a metallic diamond shape starting to appear around the lights. Curious thing to notice is that there was one light that I could see that was offset from the other lights. And I don't know why that would be, but all of these lights were really pulsating and beaming light towards you. It was the most amazing thing to see. It was a completely cloudless night, clear sky. And then the next most amazing thing happened on the next page. It tilted on its axis and gave me a real good clear look at the surface. The whole of the surface, the dark grey that you can see, was actually, it looked like it was organic, like it was alive, it was moving. The best way to describe it is like at night time when you see moonlight shining onto a lake, you've got a slight breeze and there's a ripple on the lake and you can see the white and the dark. It was like that. But all of these silver lines that have been shown were raised off the surface in actual 3D. They came off the surface, ran up the body, turned at 90 degrees and back down on themselves again. The most amazing sight that I'd ever seen. We reported this to Omar. We'd never been involved with UFO before. This was our first experience. And the last picture is a copy of Victoria's drawing that she presented of the object. Now I kept thinking about the particular experience, and I couldn't understand why there was a diamond shape at the bottom. I'd started to research. I'd looked into a few brochures that Omar had sent me. There was one on the continuous story of triangles which showed a sighting in Belgium. The bottom of the Belgium craft had also got these lines coming off in relief. So I'm assuming it's the same type of craft. We've seen the same version, the same model, if you like, of that particular vehicle, whatever the vehicle is. Next thing that happened, my wife came home with this book for one of Victoria's friends. Build yourself a model. I thought, now there's a good idea. Why don't I make myself a model and have a look at it? I printed up some cards on the computer at home, using the Belgium image for the bottom and my own sightings for the top and the rear. And from that I came up with what we call the Mark 1 version. This is the first one that we built, the first type of model. Now what I found when I was looking at this, and I've got a few of these actually, which we built today. So I'll pass these out as well to have a quick look at. Now what you find, if you look at the back of the craft and tilt the nose slightly down, you get the silhouette of a diamond. And then the red light at the front of the craft comes into view as being the odd spurious light that was offset from the other lights. So what we're looking at with the nose tilted down is what I believe that would be the light underneath on the front. So the actual view we're looking at there is the underneath of the craft. And that view there is actually two views in one. That shows the bottom of the craft, but also shows the craft tilted on its axes. So that's a bit misleading, but if you look at the report in the OVNI magazine for my original drawings, I do actually show two views in one. It almost seemed like it happened at the same time. What I did from there, I built a Mark II version of the model, which has got a wooden frame, and I finally built the Mark III version, which I brought along with me tonight. This one we built a wooden frame inside, and I've actually put some flashing lights into this one. And what I've also learned from this, looking at the last picture, because the craft was actually tilted at 30 degrees in the air as we drove underneath it. If you look at the craft from certain angles, it appears though the lights on Victoria's drawing would be the lights on the back and these two underneath. So I believe Victoria's seen the craft initially from underneath and seen the whole row of lights plus the one at the front. I didn't actually see the craft till I was underneath it, and I've seen the front and the rear and then seen it tilt up. My wife, who was driving, only seen the three lights underneath. My mother-in-law didn't want to come tonight, seeing all of the lights plus the craft, but she didn't admit it for 2 weeks. But if you'd like to pass that around, and so if you tilt the craft around, because this thing obviously has got a lot of pitch and roll and yaw and trim and everything about it, it's very manoeuvrable. If you look at all of the lights as you do that, I mean, it just looks really fantastic. Is it possible to turn the lights down? And
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Switch it off.
so if you'd like to sort of pass it around and have a look.
Oh, keep it still a moment.
Can you just hold that up again and move it round in space with the lights on,
Yes, can do, yeah.
as you were doing before, to show the various jobs?
Okay, there we can see the underneath.
Yeah. Now that
See the
makes
spurious light.
sense.
We can see Victoria's view from a different angle, showing all the lights along the back, plus the one on the front. My wife only seen the ones from underneath, I assume because she was driving and to duck down. But like I said, these things have got great manoeuvrability, and if you spin them around, obviously all of the lights interact with each other, and it becomes quite confusing as to what shape we're actually looking at. I think that's part of the phenomenon why different people see different things at the same site and at the same time. I think it may be something to do with these angles of rotation and the general strange laser effect of all of the
Yeah, do you
lights.
think you've got the flashing about right?
No. These are the only LEDs that I can actually get hold of for the model.
So the frequency is...
Yeah, they were lit all the time, and none of the lights actually went out. They were more pulsating rather than flashing.
Yeah.
So they were all pulsating at the same time, so it was quite a brilliant laser show. And with all the turning, and obviously it tilted on its axes when it decided to disappear. We've seen it from the rear, and then it just disappeared basically. Obviously from underneath it would have looked more like that, which is like the Belgian sighting.
When you say when you said it disappeared, did it
Because the
fly
lights
away or what? Or did it just
What happened was
materialise?
as we drove underneath it, we were looking at it, and we said, stop, let's get out of the car. And my wife drove the car slightly further forward to reverse it into a gateway, which was full enough where the thing was hovering. As we pulled forward slightly, there was a large hedge which obscured our view. And by the time we reversed and jumped out, it just disappeared. We did see a strange configuration of flashing lights in the distance, a long way away, maybe 10 or 20 miles, which we assumed at the time was the same craft that had travelled a great distance. But we have been back to the site many times, and I've been back at night, and it is fair to say it's a very busy airway. There's lots of traffic flying around there. Every sort of 5-10 minutes there's an aircraft passing by, so maybe the disappearing one could have been a normal aircraft, I don't know. I don't think so, it's got a strange shape to it. It's certainly got this triangular shape at the back. There was no noise over the noise of the Fiesta engine, which was a little bit rattly, but certainly there was no engine noise. There was no smells.
And how big do you think it was?
It was reasonably big, I should say size of an end terrace house or mid, semi-detached house. It wasn't the size of a football pitch. But it filled most of the vision of view as we looked up on it. Another interesting thing, this edge, I mean the detail was amazing to see. I've got this light colour down the side here. The dark colour from the top and from the bottom was actually rolled over like a piece of pastry. Like it had all been sympathetically rolled together. There was no rivets or nuts and bolts.
Like it was moulded.
Yeah, but it was fluid at the same time. It was a most peculiar experience. I must say, I think it was quite a friendly experience. Never felt any threat or any fear. And one of the things to bear in mind, there was 4 of us as well. It didn't jump out on just one of us from the blue and scare the wits out of us. It showed us the light. It was almost like they were fishing with bait. It was saying, here we are, come and have a look at us. And we looked at it for quite a while before we drove up. And then we've seen it materialise. And the whole event was quite exciting. Certainly wasn't frightening.
So did you feel calm then at the time?
Very much, but very excited, yes. We were rushing to get out of the car and to jump on board, but Victoria was slightly different. I think she was a bit scared. Basically, that's the sequence of events of what happened on the night.
You say that you're about 100 feet away.
Sorry?
Did you say that you're
About 100 feet above the car, yes.
Was the engine still running?
It was, yes, at that time, because we just slowed to a stop and then decided to move forward to reverse. And we couldn't hear any noise over the noise of the engine, unfortunately.
No. Any ill health?
Not doing enough, no. Victoria had some strange bubbling on her ears, but that disappeared after a while. We didn't know what that was.
I've got 2 questions. One is, what's the blue line? Oh, what's that blue thing?
That's taken from the Belgium site, and that's nothing that I actually seen on the night. I didn't see any blue light at all. If you look in, I don't know, as a continuous story. We've taken the details of the bottom. That's fictitious as far as we're concerned from what we've seen, but it's obviously somebody else's sighting, which I assume must coincide with the top view that we've seen.
Second question is, how much traffic was on the road and how many other people witnessed it?
None at all. It was the strangest thing that when the incident occurred, there was no traffic. As soon as the incident stopped and the thing had gone, the traffic started up again in both directions. I mean, it was most peculiar, yes. Any more questions?